Hello, and welcome to today's program, 8 Great Ways to Build a Family Tree. My name is Matthew Behnke. I'm a reference librarian at the Kokomo-Howard Public Library. And today, I'm going to evaluate 8 different family tree programs, and I'm going to evaluate them with 8 different pieces of criterion that I've come up with. I'm going to evaluate 2 free web-based trees, 2 free web-based collaborative trees, 2 paid web-based subscription trees, and 2 paid software-based trees. I chose these different types of tree programs to give a wide range of user experiences and user needs. So these different type of tree programs could fit different types of users at different stages of their development as genealogy researchers. And so I just want to say very briefly that the opinions that I give today are my own and do not represent the Howard County Public Library. I also want to say that the tree programs that I chose to evaluate today I came about in somewhat of an arbitrary fashion. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of family tree programs out there to choose from. But I chose these programs. Half of them are free and half of them are paid. I chose them based on their popularity and also to some extent my own experience using them. So to begin with, I want to describe kind of the criterion that I'm using to evaluate these genealogy programs. So, level of interest and expertise. What's your level of interest and how much time do you spend on genealogy? Are you an everyday user? Are you a casual user or kind of a beginner? How about if you are an intermediate user and you're trying to become advanced? These all kind of factor into what kind of genealogical program that you are going to use. I found that I have changed in the years that I've been doing genealogy from very basic family tree programs to the other end of the spectrum. So this is definitely something to think about when you are choosing a genealogy program. Budget. How much are you willing to spend? This is a really important factor to consider. As I mentioned, half of the programs I'm evaluating today are free. And so you can get some pretty strong traction out of free programs. But as you evolve in your research, you might find that you're really needing to spend a little bit more money, especially if you're going to put the time and energy into really doing good genealogy research. Collaboration. So are you looking to reach out to hidden family members, or are you trying to seek family members? There are people that are adoptees that are trying to find their biological families. There are also lots of genealogists that are going after quote unquote cousin bait. And so as a result, the level of collaboration that you're looking at is going to factor into what kind of program you use. Maybe you want to use DNA kind of linked with your family tree. So these all factor into what you're going to be searching for. Privacy. This syncs up very much with collaboration. So the level of privacy that you're going to seek out is going to be factored, at least in some point, to how much you want to collaborate. Some people want their trees just to themselves. Some people might want to share with just close family members. And others, it might be that if you're using a collaborative tree, you don't really have a choice of privacy other than living family members. So other issues to consider. Connectivity to other platforms. So this is a big one, especially if you want to use a family tree from one of the major platforms like Ancestry or MyHeritage. There are so many records out there on databases. And so if you connect your family tree using one of these platforms, you can actually add documentation, which can help to add some more credibility to your family tree and give you evidence to analyze. So mobile device app, this is a big deal for a lot of users. They want to have a mobile app that they can have a quick view of their family tree. Not all of the platforms out there have this ability, however. Tech support and community. I could put this along with additional features, but tech support is an important feature for especially paid family tree programs. So the level of support that you have is not completely dependent on paid options. There are some free platforms that also have community. They're kind of community based. So people that also use the platform go about it in a volunteer capacity, and they help answer a lot of troubleshooting questions. Import and export of GEDCOM. So just a very quick definition, GEDCOM is basically the universal file exchange for genealogy software programs. So if you're going to build a family tree, most of the programs are going to have GEDCOM import-export capabilities. So just keep that in mind. Some of them don't. Some of them you have to kind of go from scratch. With the collaborative trees, there's kind of, you wind up with an autofill kind of capacity, but it's just something else to consider if you're, especially if you're looking to cross platforms. If you're moving from, say, a beginner to intermediate stage, you might want to export a GEDCOM file into a different platform, and then you won't have to just do your work from scratch. So my first platform that I'm going to evaluate today is called FamilyEcho.com. And this website has been around for quite a while. It's been around since 2006. It's based out of Tel Aviv, Israel, and it's owned by Familiarity Limited. This one's kind of near and dear to my heart because it was actually the first online family tree that I put together. And in my opinion, it's kind of the closest match to a traditional experience of filling out a paper family tree chart. Really, all that you have on this website that you can do is basic biographical information of people. You can enter birth, death, and marriage dates and places. And you can't add any documentation, but let me go over the pros and cons here. So major pros are that it's free, it's easy to use. So this is a great beginner resource. You can import and export GEDCOM files, which is a very important feature. Like I just mentioned, if you start off with this platform and you gravitate towards something that allows you to do a little bit more, you can easily export this GEDCOM and pick up where you left off. You can add photos to your ancestors, and you can invite other users to view the tree. However, this quickly spills into the con list. There's very limited collaboration, and there's not really much of a community on FamilyEcho. Basically, you can send email invites to family members, and they can view and collaborate on your family tree. So the lack of tech support, I'm going to get into in a moment as I evaluate the actual website. But there really isn't a whole lot of community, and there's a lot of unanswered questions that people have queried. It's really community-based rather than having much of any tech support from FamilyEcho at all. There's no capabilities of linking DNA tests. You cannot add any real documentation or cross platforms. There's also no mobile app, and you can't really create reports, do anything advanced with analysis or any kind of advanced features at all. So here's FamilyEcho, and as you see, they make some money with ads. I could try to take away the ads, but they'll come back in a minute. That's how they make their money. But as you see on the top here, you have to save as you go. This is kind of an old school looking website, which might put some people off, but I think that you can get a lot of mileage out of this site, especially for a beginner genealogist. So here's my paternal great grandmother, Elsie. Her maiden name was Weidenfeller. I've got her birth date, her death date, and then I have her birthplace, death place, burial place, profession, etc., etc. So just the real basic information that you really need, though. So anything that you would add on like a regular paper chart. One feature that I really like is my history. It retains all of my history from when I first started working on this site several years ago. If I go to evaluate the site a little bit, I get their mission and vision statement. I get a little bit of information about the company. There is a frequently asked questions page, which has helped me a little bit. And as I mentioned, this is a pretty bare bones site. And one of the things that I'm not too crazy about is that there's a FamilyEcho Q&A, which kind of looks like a user forum, but there are so many unanswered questions, and it appears that it's really just user driven. So it's only other FamilyEcho users that actually field these questions. So there's no tech support. But as I mentioned, I would not dismiss this website because of its, I don't know, it's kind of primitive, but it's actually quite a functional site. So especially if you're just getting started, or maybe this is all you want. You don't want to get bogged down with all the bells and whistles of a platform that I'm going to be evaluating in the near future. So I'm going to move on to my next website. So this is FamilyTree Now. This is my second of the free web-based trees. FamilyTree Now has only been around since 2015. It was founded by Dustin Wyrick and out of California. And the site is mostly used for living people searches. But because it's been so popular, it actually appears on some list of top used genealogy websites for family trees. So the pros, you can actually build a very basic family tree. Their website does provide some basic research info, and you can save records to the tree. However, that's about where it ends, and for the pros, and there are actually quite a few cons. So the information that's on their databases is very limited. You've got some census information and Social Security death indexes, but you can't see any original documents. It only provides indexes. And it also does not allow you to go back very far. So you're gonna really come up with dead ends pretty quickly if you try to use this website to research your ancestors and to build a family tree. There's also no collaboration. There's zero support. And actually, you can't even import or export a GEDCOM file, which is like a huge red flag. Obviously, there's no smartphone app. So let me give you a brief tour of FamilyEcho, or I'm sorry, FamilyTree Now. As you can see, the search bar is the main emphasis of this website. And I will say right off that this website has had some controversy attached to it. There are so many people searching sites out there on the internet. A lot of them are paid. This one is actually 100% free, and you can actually do a lot with it. So for people that are adoptees searching for living family members, or if you are somebody who's trying to seek out cousins out there to collaborate, or if you're just doing some basic research, people searching, this is actually a really valuable site. However, some people, and I wouldn't argue, there's some things that make the people searching feature creepy. And one of the things that makes it creepy is that you'll have, if you search for somebody, first, last name, and city and state, you're going to find a person's address. For me personally, I've got addresses going back 20 years. I've got people that I've rented with, and I've been reading stories that minor children are actually listed, which is really not great and makes people feel really uncomfortable. So there is actually an opt-out option on this website, and I've done it. I've actually helped my wife to get off of the list. But back to the family tree option, there is right here it lists powerful research. And that's a little bit of an overstatement, I'll be honest, because like I said, you can't look at any of the original source documents. It only provides indexes, so you can't actually see primary sources. And the family tree is extremely limited. I'm just not very impressed with this family tree feature, so I've got to be honest, I really wouldn't recommend it to even somebody who's just looking to get started with their research, because you're not going to get very far using this website. As I mentioned, there is a method to opting out. If you look yourself up on this site and you're not very happy with what you find, just understand that there are so many other websites out there that kind of do the same thing, but you can actually go into privacy. You can go and scroll down to number 4 in the privacy statement, and under your rights, you can actually go to right here, which is the opt out, and you can click on the link right up here for family tree opt out. And it's quite an actual simple process. If you want to opt out and you don't want your records showing, you just have to find yourself, provide a link for it, and ask to be taken off. So I wanted to address that very quickly. If I was going to talk about this site, I want to talk about the fact that you can actually get off of their search engine. So that's all I have to say on family tree now. Next, I'm going to go to 2 collaborative trees. So WikiTree. This is the first of the 2 collaborative trees that I'm going to talk about today. And what makes a collaborative tree different from the 2 that I just showed you is that it's kind of the opposite. Whereas FamilyEcho and FamilyTree are completely siloed, WikiTree is completely open in that anybody can see all the records on these sites. And it has a different emphasis. The emphasis is for a world tree, one tree, where everybody can use it and it doesn't really belong to any one user. So WikiTree has been around for a while, founded by Chris Whitten in 2008, and it utilizes some of the same principles as Wikipedia or Family Search Wiki. On this site, collaboration and community is really a premium. And there are a lot of people that use it. There are over 800,000 registered users. There are 27 million profiles. So those are actually ancestor biographies. And the registration is pretty unique. It requires, if you want to become an involved user and not just a guest user, you have to sign a 9-point honor code. This honor code really just amounts to don't be a jerk, don't harass people, and also cite sources. So that's one thing that really separates WikiTree, in my opinion, is that it really promotes good research. Some of the pros of WikiTree: it pledges to be free forever. It's an excellent community experience. So there's support from G to G, which is called genealogist to genealogist. There are video tutorials on how to use the site. So there is a little bit of a learning curve. And the site really strongly encourages the use of sources and documentation. There's a lot of regular improvements to the site, and there are tons of features. And despite it being a collaborative tree, there's actually 6 privacy levels. So that's very appealing. Some of the cons, obviously with a world tree or a collaborative tree, you have less control. So users cannot own their own tree. You can only upload GEDCOM to compare matches that are already established on the site. Now, this is a pretty good feature, actually, because using the GEDCOM, you can actually evaluate errors. But like I said before, there is a learning curve. So you actually need to kind of watch videos and do some research on the site to actually learn how to use it. And there is a wiki markup language, which really is a lot less complicated than it sounds. And so this site, because it really encourages good genealogy practices, it requires more work. So for each source that you add, each biography, you are required to at least enter 1 source. So this is kind of a good thing in that it gets you into creating sources and to citing your work. So here's WikiTree, and as I mentioned, I'm really impressed by this site. There is a lot on here, and the community is quite impressive. So as I scroll down, one thing that I was one of the first impressions that this site made on me was that it's kind of giving Find a Grave a run for its money with its famous profiles. One of the things that I really liked about the famous profiles is that unlike Find a Grave, there was a lot of documentation with each entry. So here I'm clicking on Mark Twain, and as I go down, there are tons of links and substantial sources that are actually quoted. Look at all these sources. Actually, Find a Grave is cited, but there's a lot of legit information, historical documentation, you name it, and there's just lots of resources. You can read Mark Twain's works on Project Gutenberg, a digital repository, and then look at your census records with Mark Twain. So if you have Mark Twain in your family tree, or you just wanted to do some research on him, this is actually a really good stepping stone, and it's got some scholarly sources. It's got JSTOR. There's DNA for the Clemens families. Mark Twain's actual name was Samuel Langhorne Clemens. So I'm going to go ahead and back up and go back to the landing page. And as I scroll down farther, you get kind of a deeper impression of the activity on WikiTree. And it's a pretty bustling site. And like I said, there are tons of features. So it's really dynamic. There's a lot going on. These are the top 25 surnames that were added and worked on yesterday. There are a lot of posts. So it's very active. And then there's actually all kinds of forums that you can collaborate on. Here's the About WikiTree page, which is pretty interesting. Kind of reminds me of the Research Wiki on FamilyTree in a few ways, except that it's a little bit more interactive, and I think it's honestly easier to use. But right here, this About WikiTree, you get their mission and vision statement. They're looking to grow a single family tree that connects us all, and it's freely available. So world tree and free. There is actually a WikiTree tutorial page that really allows you to work through and learn everything that you need to know about WikiTree. So this website is robust and really gives you a lot of, for being a free site, it's pretty impressive. So I just wanted to briefly go over WikiTree. If you go to the top of the screen, you get a even better understanding of just how much there is on the website. You can actually earn badges. So like, for example, by signing the honor code, I earned a badge. It tracks your contributions. So far, I've entered 37 family members. You can actually view DNA on WikiTree, which you can't do that on Family Search. And I don't know, it's just one more thing that kind of boosts WikiTree, in my opinion. You have a number of different options for viewing your family tree. You can view it as a family group sheet. There's just a lot going on. So I just want to move on from here. And next I'm going to go to Family Search. So Family Search. Family Search has been around since 1894. It's owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and its website has been around since 1996. And its goal is one global family tree. So there's one tree record for each person out there. It's kind of a different end goal. So you kind of eventually end up with a merge. As you go back farther with your family tree, eventually you experience like this autofill. In some ways that's good, other ways that's bad. The pros of using the family search tree is that there are over 1 billion people on this global family tree. And as a result, mistakes and duplicates occur, but they can be fixed. So that 1 billion people is a little bit misleading because there are about 700 million duplicates. There are multiple views that are a really good thing on the family search tree, which gives it a pretty dynamic quality. I love the fan chart, and I'll be showing you that in a moment. You can see generations beyond where you've researched. So that's one of the major advantages with family search, because it auto-populates after a certain point. You can see where other people have researched your line, and in no way does that make it so that you do not need to do the research and that you need to fact check everything. But it can give you a different perspective on your research, and it can give you some places to look. There is a smartphone app available, but some of the cons, just as with the WikiTree, you have less control with it being a world tree. This can be frustrating to some genealogists because there will be errors, and you can fix the errors, but it can be a frustrating process. And there's no private view if you put your information on. The only people that stay off of the tree are living people. And so anyone can add sources, and at times the records can be dicey or they can be duplicates, which can be a bit frustrating. So this is actually a view of my grandmother's tree. I didn't want to use my own because I didn't want to show living people in my tree, just so that's not out there. But this is my grandmother's family tree. Now, this is a pretty interesting view for a number of reasons. The thing that's really cool about Family Search is that you can actually create a tree for any person in your link within your own family tree. So I actually clicked on my grandmother, then I clicked tree, and it basically created a tree for her. So you might be wondering what the color coding means. Well, the color coding, there's a little key up here under Research Helps, and the blue blue indicates that there are record hints under this person The purple shows that there are research suggestions. And actually, if I change this, I can also show country of origin. So if I go up, this is under the options. This shows where all of my family members came out of. And I'm just going to sign in really quick. So now I'm signed in and I have all of my family members, and it just kind of gives a nice like little color coding view of my grandmother's lineage, which most of them are Dutch, but on her mother's side, they're Swedish. And if I go, I can continue to click through the sources. This shows how many sources there are. So I have a lot of sources. And then I also get whether or not there are photos. I haven't added photos on Family Search yet, but let me go to the sources really quick, because this is one of the features that is really great on Family Search. So I'm going to go to my great-grandfather, Harold Plantiga, and I get this overview of all of the different sources that are out there for him. Okay, the strength and the weakness of Family Search is that anybody can add documentation. And one thing that can be frustrating are kind of duplicate records. But most of these records are pretty substantial and pretty solid. I've gone through here, but I have more that I can add. So I haven't done that yet myself. But that's one of the real advantages to working on this collaborative tree. If you don't see something, if you see something you don't like, you can always add, or you can work to edit, merge, delete records. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about Ancestry.com. Ancestry.com is one of the giants of the genealogy world. They have been around since 1983. And they were originally founded as the Generations Network. They were originally based out of Lehi, Utah. Now they're Provo. They went online as a website back in 1996. And they went through some changes and kind of acquired some more companies. And now they're owned by the Blackstock Group as of 2020. Like I said, they're the largest for-profit online genealogy company in the world. They have like over $1 billion in revenue and 3 million paying customers. So I myself am an Ancestry.com user at present. I actually pay for a subscription, and I have the most basic subscription. And I use the FamilyTree feature a lot, and I've also had DNA tests with Ancestry, but I'm kind of in a transition period where I'm thinking about moving towards a software-based program, or a program that would reside on my desktop computer. Okay, so the pros, there's a lot. So Ancestry being enormous, they have like 30 billion documents. So that's a lot. You can do so much research on Ancestry. I don't even think that 30 billion accounts for newspapers.com and some of the other databases that they own. It's really quite easy to use, and it's got a really attractive interface. So that is definitely a plus to Ancestry. You can use their smartphone app. They have a number of privacy options, so you can be completely alone, and you can not collaborate with other people, and nobody can see your family tree, or you can have your family tree open, and there is a lot of ability for collaboration. Ancestry is kind of a community, sort of like Find a Grave, but honestly even bigger. So definite plus is that you can connect documents, and you can connect your DNA, although it's not quite so direct.
you get kind of a separate DNA, but it sort of syncs up with your family tree. Anytime you have a hit that is somebody on your family tree, it shows that in your DNA account. You can connect to other family trees, as I mentioned, and the tree hints are pretty significant. There's like a little leaf, and it will shake if there's a hint. You get record hints, but you also get ancestor hints. And so it enables you to go back further than if you're just working on an isolated family tree. As I mentioned, I mean, there are millions of users, so there's plenty of opportunity, and GEDCOM will easily export and import. So the cons, I mentioned that I have a subscription and I have the cheapest option. It's actually a 6-month option, and it brings it down to $16.50 a month, which is still very costly. And so although I have the subscription at the moment, partly so that I can attach records to the trees, it leaves me kind of feeling stuck. And I've been doing research and learning that there's definitely much better ways of having a family tree than having all the documents attached. And that's like linking the sources. So I'm working towards doing that, and probably getting a paid subscription software program rather than having this web-based program. So the GEDCOM itself does not export records, but I think that there is a way. I haven't done it myself, but there is a way to download the records, but it's kind of complicated. You still need to back up a web-based platform like Ancestry or MyHeritage, and I think it's really easy to take for granted that these massive sites won't have glitches, but you still need to periodically back them up, export the GEDCOM, and put it somewhere secure. I find personally that the tree hints are a double-edged sword, and when I say a double-edged sword, I mean, yeah, you can definitely find more documents with the suggestions, which are automated, and you can definitely go back farther on your family tree. But they're not always accurate, and you need to do your own research. And I think that sometimes Ancestry makes it a little bit too easy to go back too far. And so that's what I mean by saying it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes you'll get a relative recommendation when there's like one source or not even any sources. There's just another family tree that somebody else has copied from somewhere else. Some of the record hits are inaccurate or repetitive. So you have to be aware of that, and you have to really evaluate the record hints. Sometimes it'll be for a completely different person with the same name or a similar spelled name. So that's just something that you have to be mindful of on any genealogy platform. But sometimes people will just blindly save all of the documents, and you have to really go through and you have to evaluate. I kind of find that the Ancestry sort of gamifies genealogy a little bit, and it kind of encourages you to go back too far too quickly, and sloppy genealogy is the result. So there's a lot of pros to Ancestry. Now I'm going to talk about one of the other major players in online subscription family trees. It is MyHeritage, and MyHeritage has a pretty reasonable foothold on the genealogy game as well. They've been around since 2005. They're actually based out of Yehuda, Israel, and they were founded by Gilad Jaffet. They're similar to Ancestry, but their focus is much more European based. So this is something to think about when you're looking for a family tree service. where your people are at, where your ancestors come from, is going to be a factor in what type of platform you use. And Find My Past, for example, is really heavy on English documentation. So you might want to consider, Find My Past if you have a lot of English ancestors. If you have a lot of European or Middle Eastern ancestors, you might want to consider MyHeritage. So they have 6 billion historical records, and I believe that's much higher with the way they link to Family Search. They have 3 different trees. So I'm going to talk some more about that in a minute. They have FamilyTree Builder, which is their software-based program. They have a collaborative tree that is similar to the Family Search, FamilyTree, and WikiTree, and it's called Genie. And then they also have a software-based program that is within their website, and it's called Family Sites. So I'll be talking some more about this shortly. What are the pros of MyHeritage? Well, I mean, just with all these other programs, the GEDCOM is easy to import and export. With FamilyTree Builder, you can download it for free. And if you get a subscription to MyHeritage, it's very similar to Ancestry, where you can build up a family tree and you can have a lot of documents to sync up. FamilyTree Builder itself, it's a very good backup, and to use it along with Family Sites if you go the subscription route. Some of the cons, you can only have the documentation if you actually pay for a MyHeritage subscription. If you use FamilyTree Builder alone, collaboration is quite difficult. And personally, I find it to be a little bit confusing and overwhelming that MyHeritage has 3 different family tree features. The Family Sites feature of it only allows 250 people on the tree, and so I'm not too fond of that because that's not very many people. And so there's some things about MyHeritage's programs that are really good, though. Also, they have some really good applications for restoring photos. There's a lot of things that they have that are unique to MyHeritage. So next I'm going to go on to the 2 software based programs, and the first one I'm going to talk about is FamilyTree Maker. FamilyTree Maker has been around for a long time. They've been around since 1995. They were created by Banner Blue Software. Up until 2017, I think they were owned by Ancestry. They were purchased by Software Mac Kiev in 2016. So I guess there was a kind of a transitional period where the FamilyTree Maker was still being used by Ancestry for a while after they were purchased by Mac Kiev, and then they transitioned out. It's a great program that's available for both Windows and Mac, and they're currently on 2019. So the pros, since they've changed to Software Mac Kiev, they've touted 4 major improvements. They have a full integration with Family Search. So just with a lot of these other programs, you can sync up Family Search records, and there's just so much on Family Search. The Family Sync feature allows for 3 trees to be synced up at one time. So this is really a premium for collaboration. So if you want to have some family members that are working on parts of your tree, you can keep your own tree active and keep working on it, and then later sync it up with the records that were found by family members or other collaborators. Color coding. So this is kind of similar to the Family Search family tree, where you have different surnames and different lines with different colors. Photo darkroom. Now, this is a pretty significant feature that might make the cost of FamilyTree Maker worth it. So you don't have to pay for something like Photoshop. If you're into photo editing, if you have some old photos, this feature actually allows you to do some pretty heavy restoration and some like photo healing. There's also advanced features where you can do the standard, adjustments to saturation, contrast, etc. But yeah, I was pretty impressed when I started tooling around and learning about Photo Darkroom. They have a Tree Vault, which is a cloud-based backup, and also a program called StillSync. They have a smartphone option, and the GEDCOM easily imports and exports. Some of the cons, so unlike RootsMagic, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, there's no free or demo mode. It's quite costly. I guess it's not really that costly when you consider how much you're paying for a subscription to Ancestry or MyHeritage, but it's $79 to purchase FamilyTree Maker. If you manage to find a discount date, it might be as cheap as $59. There are no data warnings when you have an error on your tree, and that's kind of surprising with something of this level. A lot of these platforms, even like Family Searches, FamilyTree, they provide if there's an inconsistency in dates, or if it picks up errors. There are no error warnings with FamilyTree Maker, which is kind of surprising. You still have to pay for upgrades, and you still have to back up. So RootsMagic, this is the other standard bearer of subscription software programs for genealogy. They've been around since 1987. They were founded by Bruce Busby, and he still is in charge of the company. It was originally called Family Origins. It's currently on its 7th edition, and the 8th edition is in beta right now. So it's going to be coming out, I'm not sure when, but before too long. RootsMagic, I often hear, is the #1 genealogy platform for professional genealogists. So this is kind of the Cadillac, but it's actually not terribly expensive. That's a major pro. It's actually only $29.95 to buy new. And they're kind of enticing FamilyTree Maker users to upgrade for only $19.95. So they're kind of trying to steal some FamilyTree Maker business. It easily connects to Family Search. I've been using RootsMagic Essentials, which is their free version, which I've really been enjoying using that because it's given me an idea of kind of what I'm missing with the actual paid version. And it's just enough that I get to see how everything works, and all of the basic components work just fine. One of the paid features that I'm really excited about, if I decide to pay for RootsMagic, is RootsMagic to Go. And it allows you to export RootsMagic with a flash drive, and you can use it on the go. You can use it on a desktop computer if you decide to go to a library and do research. There's also a mobile app, and just with FamilyTree Maker, there's a lot of advanced features that are not available with subscription-based, like Ancestry or MyHeritage, or the collaborative, or the free software-based programs. You can do a lot of different reports, and you can also, it really lends itself to writing up your findings and really being thorough about documenting your sources. So that's kind of the main reasons why these software-based programs are kind of preferred by professional genealogists or more advanced users that are working towards actually writing up their findings. Obviously, GEDCOM works just great. Some of the cons, it's definitely a learning curve, and it's a different mindset from some of the web-based platforms where you kind of have the expectation of there being more work done kind of automated and things that are coming to you. There are definitely still record hints, but there's a lot more work on your end. You still have to back up RootsMagic. I don't know that it syncs to any kind of cloud-based platform, so that's definitely an advantage over FamilyTree Maker. And it just, the overall appearance is a little bit more primitive. If you're used to something that's kind of flashy like Ancestry, it's a little bit of an adjustment. Overall though, I was pretty pleased with my experience so far with RootsMagic Essentials. So to come back to the beginning, when I was speaking about what are your goals for genealogy, you really want to think about what you want and what you are trying to accomplish, and how much time are you willing to put into your genealogy, and how much money are you willing to spend. So I would definitely recommend spending some time experimenting with different platforms. And it might just be that there's more than one tree out there, and there might be a tree service that might work better for you in the future. But I would just really recommend taking some time and experimenting with all these different features on all these different platforms and finding out what is right for you. So I hope this has been helpful. And if you have any questions about your genealogy and you were looking to do some research, you can contact the Kokomo-Howard Public Library here in lovely downtown Kokomo and speak to the genealogy department. And thank you very much and have a great day.